Hello everybody, today I'm going to show you how to do granular resampling for Neuro basses, some techniques I like to use. Let's jump into the future real quick and I'll show you what the sound sounds like at the very end. Hey, so this is us in the future. Let's listen to two of the examples of the stuff we came up with. So here's example one. Okay, and here's example two. Okay, we're back in the present. So let's start off with the source sound we're going to use, because this is all about taking a bass that you've made that may be cool, but you want to get something different out of it, and then dropping it into a granulizer and doing stuff. So this is the bass sound, and it's both a bass and the bass starting sound. Okay, so typical sound compression type deal. I have a video on this, how to do this kind of sound. I'll link it in the description. But let's take that and actually do something with it. So let's quickly record it. Okay, so we've recorded it. So let's dump it into our Fruity Granulizer. So a bit about your selection of a granular engine. I like Fruity Granulizer for this sort of thing especially because the way that it works is that it splits your audio file into a discrete number of grains, and it plays them all in sequence, either forwards or backwards depending on how you've got your all these knobs set up. But the importance for that is because you're scrolling through the sound in roughly the order in which the actual sound plays normally, and this is kind of important for keeping a coherent sound, because your starting sound should be something kind of coherent, and because we're making basses and not just wacky glitchy crap, which I'm a big fan of, but not in this context. You want some kind of coherence to it. Other granular engines like the Mangle, which I've shown off in a previous video, they don't necessarily do that. You can quickly lose coherence. It's actually very hard to get it to play the grains in a coherent order with that. And so there's effects-based granular engines that are kind of like based off of delay engines. I'm actually not too familiar with them. I probably should be, because I'm always talking about how great granular synthesis is, but I always use granular generators, not granular effects. So that being said, that's how I'm doing it. As always, we want to turn on the loop on this Fruity Granulizer, because if we don't, we'll run out of grains. So let's just start off making a quick little 4-bar thing. For this granular synth, you want to just start off with C5. C5, the root note, is just plays the original audio at whatever pitch, at whatever, no pitch modification, I should say. So let's dump this into the mixer. And so and a lot of this is going to look familiar to that a video I have from a couple months, probably almost a year ago now. My simple glitch techniques video where I talk about how to use Granulizer to get glitch sounds. Even though these aren't glitch sounds, a lot of the stuff is still going to carry over. So we want to just get these 4 knobs: attack, hold, grain spacing, and wave spacing. Make automation clips for them. Here we go, we got all 4. And these are primarily what we're going to be messing with here at the beginning. So these effects, I don't like to mess with these because it's not so deterministic, and I don't really need them. So let's just make some sounds. The trick to getting cool bass noises out of the Fruity Granulizer is you got to find sweet spots in the interactions between these 4 parameters. The 2 most important ones are going to be grain spacing and wave spacing, because these control how much overlap there is between grains playing. That's with grain spacing. And then wave spacing is, I don't know exactly how wave spacing like works from like a nuts and bolts type of perspective, but it controls, I guess, I believe it's basically like the speed that it goes through the through all the grains, and you can go, you know, forward or backward depending on whether you're above or below 50%. So there's different sweet spots for getting kind of bassy sounds out of these. What's gonna affect whether a sweet spot is good or not is if you want to make sure that your grains are overlapping in such a way to give cool timbres or timbres, however it's pronounced. English is weird. Because if you have your grains overlapping in such a way that they're stacking over each other, you can get some kind of cool inharmonic sort of interferences where it sounds really metallic. And if you space them out just enough, you can get those cool kind of like sci-fi skittery growl noises. But space them out too much or overlap them too much and it sounds bad. If you overlap them too much, it gets too high pitched. You space them out and it just sounds stupid. So let me play around with this and I'll show you what I come up with. Okay, so let's take a quick listen here. So let's talk a little bit about these sweet spots I just mentioned earlier. So what's going on is that I find that having the grain spacing kind of on the lower end here, where there's going to be a lot of overlap between grains. So lower grain spacing means less space between them, and to the point where there's overlap. That combined with this kind of negative speed going on, that's just a sweet spot. It just sounds good to me. Similarly, because if you were to move this up here, you get something kind of similar sounding, but different, obviously. Damn, that actually sounded pretty cool. Yeah, so what's going on there is that so this is roughly what, like 75%, or this is like, so this here is 80% and here is 86%, and that's kind of, with respect, if you treat 50% as kind of the baseline, where at 50% the wave isn't moving at all, this is about the same amount above 50 as it was below it when we had it down here. So similar results, but different sound. So, and then if we move over to here, here I'll play through, because what happens is that if you start it here, it's going to start the sound from this point, the original sample, and it's going to be different than it is if we started from here. So I'm going to start here and then just listen to how it sounds when we get around here. Yeah, so that it got kind of like skittery. That's because we drove the grain spacing up and there's now more space between each grain. But you know, we can mess with the attack time, which is sort of the attack and release of the various grains, and then the hold, which is the I believe something to do with the spacing between the grains. I don't quite know, but these two become a lot more important when you do something like this, which is getting that skittering kind of sound. It doesn't quite matter where the wave spacing is so much for that kind of sweet spot. That has more to do with just kind of these three. But yeah, so this is a pretty good starting sound. So the first thing we're gonna do is, you probably noticed already, much to your annoyance, that the volume of Fruity Granulizer is a little lower sometimes. So we're gonna just drive that into a compressor, just right off the bat. That's what we're gonna do. So like most of the stuff I advocate for, I'm big into iterative resampling. So this is cool. This already has a lot of really cool sounds right off the bat, and you can by all means print this out or render it to audio, whatever you want to call it, and chop it up and start using it. That's totally cool, but we can always take it further. So let's put just some distortion on it. So let's get a wave shaper. Let's just give it a regular old saturation. Really hard to go wrong with that. You know what I think I'm going to do? I'm going to actually get rid of this limiter, or this compressor. Rely on that for the for what we're doing here, and we're gonna put a let's get a notch going here. Let's get just a single notch. Actually, you know what? Instead of a single notch, let's do a peak, and then 2 notches. So let's make automation clips for these, and let's give these some random automation. Okay, so whenever we have all these kind of peaks and stuff going on, like things are going to get really wacky and a little out of control. So we're going to shove a maximus on this, and we're just going to do yield maximus upwards compression. You can do a similar thing with OTT. Just basically you want to destroy your dynamics. You can also just drive this into really hard into any multiband compressor, which is basically what I'm doing here. And yeah, let's see how that sounds. All right, so then let's there's a lot of things we can do to that. We're just gonna stick an EQ on it. So let's render that out, or record that, I guess, not necessarily render it out, but okay. So we have it printed out here. Again, we could stop there, but why stop there? So I'm gonna actually stretch this thing out. FL has a couple different modes for stretching. So instead of resampling, we're gonna change it to stretch, so this way it'll keep the pitch. And let's just make it double its length. Actually, let's make it 1.5 times. Okay, so I just did that to give it a bit of texture, because when you stretch things out like that, it gives them a bit of a metallic texture as part of the it's just an artifact that happens, but I like to play with artifacts like that. So let's get another fruity granulizer. So let's just dump this in there. So we're going to do more or less the same thing here. Another reason I stretched it out is because when you put in a really busy sound in here, it's easy to let the final result after the granular process get even busier, like too busy as a result. Because what happens is that you have a lot of like quick movements happening as a result of all the kind of chaotic interaction between the, not those two, the grain spacing and the wave spacing. And so, which is cool, but sometimes it just starts to get like too noisy and too quick. And so if we slow it down, that gives us, that lets us make it get more busy, like busier, but not too busy, if that makes any sense. So let's give it some MIDI. And we're gonna do something a little different this time too. We're gonna give it some slide notes in here. So slide notes are basically pitch stuff. It slides the pitch up to that note over, and it takes, the amount of time it takes to slide it up to that pitch is dependent on the length of that slide note, if you're not familiar with how slide notes work in FL. So let's give it some random slide notes everywhere. It sounds really cool when it like pitches up, goes like, I don't know, it's a cool sound, I like it. So let's bring it down here, and then let's go some like really high pitch crap, and then So let's just see how that sounds without even any of this. Pretty cool. Let's actually make this higher though. There we go. So let's do the old 4. All right, so let's take a quick listen, see how that sounds. I put a wave shaper on it just to give it a bit of grit and a bit of a boost. So pretty cool stuff, if you ask me. So in that, like around here, veers outside of bass territory a little, but still certainly usable within a kind of glitch neuro context. So from here, you would basically just repeat the same kind of process we did here. You can do EQ kind of modulation with peaks and notches. You can use some weird filters from like Serum's FX if you have Serum. You can resample this again and do all sorts of other things to it. The idea here is that you can iteratively do this as many times as you want until the sound just gets too destroyed for your liking. But yeah, if you're gonna take away one lesson from this, it's learn the sweet spots of your granular synth. For Fruity Granulizer, I showed you kind of the 2 that I think are the most important, but whatever you're using, learn those. But yeah, that's kind of it. That's the basics of how I use granular synthesis for resampling bass noises and making cool neuro noises. If you like this, please let me know in the comments, and if you have any questions at all, also please let me know. Any suggestions for future videos you'd like to see, please let me know as well, because oftentimes I run out of ideas, and knowing what people want to see helps me. Like if you ask for something specific that I know how to do, chances are I'll do it. So thank you and have a good day.